Parents of Reddit, what was the worst thing your kid/s ever did that made you momentarily wish you didn't have kids? How about the other way around? During the late 80s, I was 16 and saving for a computer. They were expensive back then, and it was more common not to have one than have one. I was going to buy a used computer. I had $350 saved up from working a minimum wage job paying $3.25 an hour. I needed about $1,000, so I was 1/3 of the way there. One day I went into my cash box to put in another $20, but all my money was gone. There was a note in the kitchen written by my mother. She took my money and rented a motel room for a week. She said she had to get away because I was making her fat and depressed because I was cooking so much. I was 16 and cooking for myself because she was always out. BTW. This was on top of me helping out with the bills. I barely had any left over for savings, so saving $350 took me months. This happened to me, but I had saved up $1,400 for my first build. I worked 35 hours a week in high school from age 15 to save up that much, and she took it before I got the chance to order it and said it was about time I started contributing to the family. I feel your pain, man. This happened today. I live in Nebraska, and in March we had a devastating flood. My basement was completely destroyed, and my insurance company wouldn't cover any of it outside water, not inside water, so my husband and I spent the last 2.5 months and $6,000 fixing it ourselves. On Saturday we put the final finishing touches on it, ready to have company back over and live in a whole house again. Hooray. Until this morning, my husband checked the sump as he usually does. Everything looked great, basement is dry and all systems go. That was 6:30 am. At 7 am my children all decided to go downstairs and watch a show. That's okay too. Except for when the sump pump stopped working and my basement flooded again. They waited 2 whole freaking hours while watching the water rise before coming upstairs to tell me. So yeah, today's when I wished I didn't have kids. 0 kids would not have warned you any better about a flooding basement. Pretty sure they make some pumps with failure alarms though. You might want to invest in one of those, although I hear they confuse people because after a few years their batteries die, so they're alarmed to let you know, but people forget why their sump pump has an alarm. Pawned my wedding ring to buy drugs. My uncle did this to my nan and I'll never forgive him for what has done to our family. He is the definition of an oxygen thief. His drug addiction has crippled our family, but I still would like to see him get some kind of proper help. Just won't be coming from me. I used to be the landlord of a building with a lot of tenants with addictions. When they died, family members we'd never seen or heard of except on emergency forms would show up as next of kin. I always wondered if those family members thought we were judging them for never being there. We are not. Not even once. Everyone has a right to cut ties with people who have abused and used them, even if they're blood relatives. No one is obligated to re-establish ties even after people are clean and sober, just because they are clean and sober now. He still lives with my pop, but my grandparents split because of him after 40+ years of marriage. My pop's refusal to abandon his son is noble, but I can't fully understand or comprehend it. Probably because I'm not a father myself. It was early morning, and I was sleeping in my bed. My 2-year-old woke up before me and decided that she was going to wake me as well. She climbed out of her bed, went into the kitchen, made a set of stairs to get the kitchen knives, grabbed a knife, and headed to my bed. She climbed into my bed and stabbed me an inch below my eye. I woke with her holding said knife over my head and her giggling like the bride of Chucky. Can you please elaborate more on this story? I'm really curious as to what happened afterwards. I guess a 2-year-old was put up for adoption and moved on. And every time you see somebody with a suspicious scar under their eye you can't help but stop and wonder if that ain't op. And what happened to the kid? You mean like what she used to build the stairs? She used boxes, toys, a small step stool. I grabbed the knife from her, scolded her, and went about putting things back. No, I did not return her as defective. Do you have a scar? How was the injury? I'm 15 weeks pregnant and have a 15-month-old. For those who haven't been pregnant before, the first trimester is brutal for exhaustion. With my first, I slept 10 hours a night and took a 2-hour nap every day. These days I'm incredibly lucky if I get 7 hours a night and definitely no nap. So one day about a month ago I barely slept because I had insomnia at night and my kid relentlessly wakes up between 5:30 am and 6:30 am. I was dead on my feet, so I decided to try and lie down on the couch and maybe catch a cat nap while my kid played. He saw me lying on the couch, walked up to me, and headbutted me as hard as he could right in the bridge of the nose. I heard a crunch and could have sworn it was broken. It hurt so badly. In that moment, I regretted every life decision that had led me to that point. My very mature adult response was to burst into hysterical tears and ask him why he's so mean to me. I think that freaked him out more than yelling would have. What did your kid do that inspired you to ask? Oh, so many things over the years. My son has severe ADHD and sensory processing disorder and treats every even mild inconvenience like it's Armageddon. I have one in puberty and the other in the terrible twos. They are 10 years apart. But the specific moment that led to this question was last night, about midnight. My daughter threw up in the middle of the night for the second night in a row. I gave her a trash can to puke in, and she purposely turned around and puked on the carpet instead. I've had to give a screaming, sobbing 2-year-old a bath in the middle of the night for 2 nights in a row and clean chunky, stinky puke up from her bed in the carpet. And to top it off, last night when I got up with her, it woke up the 12-year-old with the ADHD and SPD, and he had a meltdown because his sister was puking. 2 screaming, sobbing children in the middle of the night, puke everywhere, hadn't been able to sleep or shower for several days. Just not good times. My 3-year-old got diarrhea at the park this weekend. We were 1-2 mile walk from home with no bathroom in sight. I wanted to disappear. I keep a change of clothes in my 3's bag just in case and plenty of wipes pull-ups, as well as a plastic bag when I remember to do it lol. But my son has a digestive problem, so diarrhea is more likely with him. I come prepared for anything. Or just keep an Ikea bag nearby and toss the kid in there. I'm more than a couple blocks without a change of clothes for babe. I just leave a set in the car and then on walks I bring his backpack. I had a mommy group meetup when my son was 2. He crammed himself full of banana flaxseed muffins, blueberries, and strawberries. He only pooped once a week or so, and we were at my parents' the next day when it hit him. I had to throw away those pants and literally hose him down outside. I still gag when I think about it. I have a very adventurous 5-month-old. She loves movement and she's already trying to crawl. She rolled off the bed a few weeks ago when I took a nap with her. I didn't know what had happened until I heard her scream. She wasn't hurt, but the sound alone has struck a new sort of terror in me I didn't know existed. Whoop, my daughter did that and gave herself a black eye, hit her face on the leg of my laptop stand. I know that terror. I'm so sorry. My little sister's mom was busy talking on the phone while she was jumping on their master bed. They were in the room together, but her back was turned while on the phone, and my sister slipped, fell off, and gouged her crown on my great-great-grandmother's furniture. I still remember the blood-curling seam my stepmother had when my sister started crying. There was a lot of blood. My dad was surprisingly calm, getting everyone moving to the car to go to the hospital. My sister has 3 adopted kids and one has massive behavior problems. He's burned down the house, come at my sister several times with a knife, threw a soup can at the back of her head, giving her in permanent damage, been in and out of mental health hospitals, arrested a few times, allegedly molested his younger brother. We are not close, and I don't talk to her much, but I imagine she regrets him. How old is the problem kid now? How's he doing these days? 15 and he still has these problems. I don't know what the solution is. Serious question. Can you, return the kid? Oof. I feel terrible, but these stories are the reason I know I could never adopt a child. It seems like it takes something beyond what it takes to be a regular parent to adopt. Kudos to all of the parents who adopted and gave their lives to someone who might never get their own together. The other day my 5-year-old walks up to a group of Indian women and loudly goes, "What's with the dots on your foreheads?" Pause. No response. "What's with the dots on your foreheads?" I drag him away saying it's part of their religion blah blah blah, and he goes, "What's a religion?" Clearly nailing this whole parenting thing. That's not so bad. My son once told an overweight woman that she was obese and that she was going to die because she was unhealthy. She was not pleased. Lol, I think you handled the situation really well. My daughter 3 asked a lady who was overweight and 60 plus why she was so skinny. The woman awkwardly laughed and said she wasn't skinny but wished she was. A few days later my daughter was getting out of the bath and she held up her prune wrinkly fingers and said, "Look mom, my fingers are skinny." I died laughing and I'm so glad she didn't know the word wrinkle at the time. A phase of having constant tantrums and explosive meltdowns over absolutely everything, like hourly as long as she was awake, only lasted a few months, but it was exhausting and depressing, and every now and again just made me wish I'd never bothered. I'm starting to think all kids go through a phase like this. My son never outgrew it. He's 12 and still has meltdowns over everything. My approach, which is guaranteed to have worked with exactly one kid, was to make it clear he had the right to tantrum whenever he wants. I have the right not to listen to it. So he could go tantrum as often as he wanted, for as long as he wanted, in his room, the car, or a handy closet. When he realized he was getting exactly zero sympathy, attention, or disruption, he quit. Admittedly, was a neurotypical kid who was otherwise well behaved. Also, 3. When my son was 4, we were in the checkout line at the grocery store. There was a very obese man 2 people ahead of us, and unfortunately my son spotted him. He points and says very loudly, "Mommy, look how fat that man is." My insides go cold. People around us are trying not to laugh. I say in a very firm voice, "That's not a nice thing to say." To which he replies, "But he's really fat." Then I tell him to just be quiet. It was the longest I've ever waited to check out. My daughter did this in line at the post office. "Look, mummy, that lady is really fat. Does she have a baby in there?" Me, it's not polite to talk about the way people look. Her, but she's really fat. Maybe she has 10 babies inside her. I was a coward and I suddenly remembered other errands that could be done first.